The movie Dune, directed by Denis Villeneuve, is an adaptation of the classic science fiction novel written by Frank Herbert that was published in 1965. The story takes place in the very distant future, approximately 20,000 years, where humans are living among many different planets ruled by a galactic emperor. Each planet has unique landscapes, cultures, and climates that needed to be taken into consideration when designing the architecture of Dune. When starting to envision how the world of Dune should look, the production designer Patrice Vermette first dove back into the novel in order to build a clear foundation of the universe Herbert had written about. The world of the novel is expansive and very detailed, and he wanted to be able to translate this to the big screen. When it came to the set design of the film, they immediately knew that they needed to make it feel grounded and timeless in order to balance out the more mystical elements of the story. They did look at the original movie adaptation of the book by David Lynch, done in the 80s.
The planet is Arrakis, also known as Dune.
But wanted to take things in a different direction, and I don't blame them. In order to create a more detailed and lived-in world, they decided to build many of the sets for real, instead of overusing visual effects and green screen to fix things later, like most other modern films today. I'm looking at you, Marvel. When this extra work is put into building real sets that feel lived in and weathered by time, it definitely pays off.
I'm a strong believer that you must build as much as possible because it will influence acting, it will influence the imagination of the actors, it will influence myself.
The movie shows three main planets: Caladan, the water planet where the protagonists come from, Arrakis, the desert planet, and Giedi Prime, home to the villains of the story, House Harkonnen. In this universe, the planet Arrakis is quite important due to the fact that it's the only source of a very valuable resource known as spice, which allows for space travel among many other things. This place is covered in desert and is very hard to live in due to the sweltering heat, strong windstorms, and ginormous sandworms large enough to consume entire structures. A large majority of the movie takes place on Arrakis, so I'll be focused mainly on the architecture scene there. The capital city on the planet was built to withstand the harsh windy conditions. It utilizes angular-shaped buildings in order to allow wind to flow over top. The exterior of the structures are clearly inspired by Mesopotamian ziggurats, as well as Aztec and Egyptian pyramids. Also, Vermette says that he looked at a lot of World War II bunkers when searching for inspiration. Many of the bunkers from that era were built out of thick layers of reinforced concrete, minimum 6.5 feet, in order to survive the effects of half-ton aerial bombs or a hit from a 220mm artillery shell. In other words, they were built to last, and many of them still exist today. They are peculiar and eerie structures that are scattered throughout the area, left abandoned to slowly grow into the landscape. I can see why these structures were referenced for the architectural style of Dune, as they feel almost otherworldly with their striking forms. Along with those influences, a lot of inspiration from brutalist design can also be seen. The buildings from Arrakis are large, simple volumes. Made completely of concrete, they lack intricate detailing. The exterior design focuses solely on the structure and functionality of the buildings. When it comes to the interiors, many of those influences can continue to be seen. Like the World War II bunkers, in order to stay protected from the elements, the buildings have thick stone and concrete walls with minimal openings. Here they are used to keep cool, and they utilize light wells and shaded openings instead of large windows in order to still allow daylight in without getting all the heat from the direct rays. This is a big focus in designing buildings that can passively heat and cool. In architecture, we call this passive solar design. In order to manage heat from the sun, buildings should block the high-angle summer sun in order to keep it cool inside, while still allowing for the low-angle winter sun to make its way in to help warm it up in the colder months. Arrakis isn't the only planet with some interesting architecture though. There is also the planet Caladan, which has its own unique design language and background. This planet has raging shorelines along with wet, overcast weather. The interiors of Caladan lean more towards a medieval Japanese style, with a mix of other influences thrown in. This wide variety of influences helped to create new architecture for the film that is otherworldly, while still feeling grounded and lived in, with rich histories behind them that are waiting to be explored.